was homeless in a car. 2 years. It wasn't just me. I had 5 kids at the time. I was at peace. I was at peace at this time in my life. I had left my hometown. Me and my children, we left. It was some adjusting. We all needed to adjust to live in one space, small as no bed. But it was blessed to have that bed because we could have been in the car. But before I left, I know God put on my heart to leave. I just knew this because I used to go up to this mountain. It wasn't a mountain. It was just like, it was a creek, but up the hill. It was kind of like you can walk it. So it was like, it's kind of a mountain. And at this time, I really didn't know how to pray, but I understood that praying was just a conversation with God. It was a mess. I know what was going on. God heard me. God seen me, and I know He did. I heard Him clearly to leave. Like, leave where? Where we going? You know. And I didn't hear nothing else. They told me to leave, but I knew it was clear, but I didn't know where I was going. I packed up my whole house because it was urgent in my heart to just pack up this house. Packed up my house. There was so many things that I had. I was still in boxes. Like, I was starting a business. I wanted to start a business, hundreds of dollars worth of like candle making stuff, and I was a planner. So I used to grow plants and like herbs, vegetables, and stuff like that. So I had all of this stuff to grow. Plants, like it was just so many things. Some of the things I didn't even open because like I knew I was about to start my life. Like I didn't know where my life was going, but I knew what I liked to do. Like I knew so much stuff that I had, and I just left everything behind. And at this point, like I most definitely knew that this was God telling me. He was telling me to leave. I mean, I didn't know He was telling me to move because, and I didn't have a feel in my body that I needed to tell anybody. So I knew He was telling me to leave, and not only to leave, but to not tell nobody because that was scary, honey. I ain't had no job. That was another story. Another video about that. But I knew God was telling me to leave and not tell nobody. So I was on top of that mountain, as I was saying. He told me to leave. So it wasn't too long after that my kids got home from school, and everything was already in the car, and we left. I had to deal with these kids. My oldest son, he did not live up on me until we came back. But I can just understand, like he had his friends, he didn't want to leave. He didn't know he was leaving. That was a big thing. He didn't know he was leaving. So like that was really something hard that he had to. And then we have no phones. We didn't have no contact or nothing. But the only thing that we did when we was gone, we went to libraries. We slept at parks. Well, in the van, but we was at parks and at libraries. That's where we was at, on our journey. And we left Cleveland, Ohio, and we drove. The first place that we stopped at was Texas. At Texas, when we stopped at Texas, I drove all the way to Texas, like no breaks or nothing. When we got there, I had to stop because I needed to get some rest. When we got there, I stopped for rest. I got some rest. I was sleeping. I was sleeping in the front seat because that was my bed in the front seat. And as I was sleeping, I got this dream, and in my dream, it was a hurtful dream. It was a hurtful dream. I didn't know how to take it, but I knew I felt it. So I felt this dream. I felt it, and I just woke up and I was so sad. I was crying, and it was just not something that I wanted to feel right then because I just feel like I was just being led by God. I feel like I was on this journey that everybody around me should have understood, and that's what I was feeling. So that's how I was feeling. I was feeling like everybody should just understand, especially the ones that talk about God and believe in Jesus Christ. So that's really what I was feeling. I talked about God a lot, especially when I when I heard His voice tell me to follow Him. Like I just knew everybody talked about this God that I was not following my whole life until I was 25, this to be so 30 years old, and I was 30 years old. I wasn't following no Jesus, no God, no nothing. I was following some gods, all right, but they was not Jesus Christ. So I just knew the people that believe in God and knew God was going to understand that God speaks to people, like, and He spoke to me. And anyway, I got there. I was in Texas. I had a dream. It was hurtful. It was about everything that was about to happen. I woke up. I was so in tears. I was just so emotional. And at that time, I felt like I needed to tell my family where I was at, and that was a big pressure on my heart to tell them at this time. Like, remind you, I said I wasn't feeling like I needed to tell nobody nothing. So I wake up and now I got this on my heart that I need to tell them. I'm just going with the flow. Whatever God telling me to do, I am doing it. It ain't no questions asked and nothing. I told my family, like, I made it to Texas, y'all. Like, me and the kids left. Like, we made it to Texas. I'm not sure when we're coming back, but I most definitely let y'all keep y'all updated. And boom, boom, boom. I'm moving with God by faith. Like, God is telling me, He ordered my steps. Boom, boom, bow. And honey, Chad, God prepared me for what was about to happen. He prepared me for the responses that I was going to get, but it was okay because I didn't understand at this time that God was stripping things away from me. He was restoring things in me. He was pruning. Listen, He was teaching me forgiveness for everybody in my life since I was a young child. How to forgive the people that done all the things to me, and my own mother don't even know. I had to sit at God's feet, and he was the only one that can save me, because he is the only one that can save us. Like, he's the only one that can save us, regardless of how we feel, regardless of where we think we're going. You can't do none of that without God, because God have to give us the grace to forgive. He have to put on our heart. He got to teach us how to forgive. We don't think that we just walk around because I'm a forgiving person. Somebody can just do anything and I'm right. I can forgive them. But when it's deep forgiveness that we don't even understand that we had to forgive a person that we've seen do somebody a certain way, we got to forgive that person, and they ain't even do it to us. Like, forgiveness go a deep way. It's go deeper. Because even me, like, I feel like I was a good person that was to forgive and everything, but then at the same time, it was so much that happened to me that when it happened, it just was just say inside of us, right? We have like doors. What was happening? It was just going inside of a dark door, a dark room inside of me, and closing the door. So it was still there. It was still there. It just wasn't getting no light. It wasn't getting no attention until something happened. Till you get in a relationship, and then it comes out. Till you get to a place that you want in your life, and then it comes out. Like, we really got to understand that, like, forgiveness goes a long way. Like, we really have to know that we have to forgive everybody for everything. But that's what God was doing. He was doing in my life. He was teaching me, and he needed me by myself to know that. He needed me to leave my hometown to stop being a people's pleaser. And that's another story that I'll talk about, because I didn't know that I was being a people pleaser, because I'm like, shoot, I ain't about to be doing whatever everybody else tells me to do. Right? But we think that that's where we stand at. But being a people pleaser goes a long way too, because we can do that to our own parents. Not wanting to let them down or anything like this. It goes deep, y'all. It goes deep. So we got a whole series of things to talk about. But this was when God had told me to leave. He told me to leave my hometown, and I left my hometown, honey child. I left and like I said, the first location I went to was Texas. When I went to Texas, that was the beginning of my healing for my whole childhood. When I say not even my whole childhood, my whole life, everything that was right in front of me, and everything that I thought that I knew, like, God really revealed himself to me on this journey. And me and my kids was in a van, homeless. And one thing that I knew, that was really God all over that. People walked up to us. I left with no money. I left with nothing. People walked up to us to buy us food. They gave us money. And I called my own family, and they did not send me nothing. I didn't get nothing from my family. But it was understood, because I knew what God was doing. He cut that off so that I can know and lean on him. But it was still hurtful, because it's like, dang, I'm on this journey, I'm out here, I need money. I need to feed my kids. But we was at a place in our life, because my kids went through that journey too. They seen the work of God. They seen the miracles of God that I'm going to speak about on this whole series of this, everything that God has done in my life. You're going to hear it, okay? People will come up and give us money, say, God told me to give you this. Blew me away every time. It was scary. We was living in a van at Walmart parking lot. People would go in there and rob Walmart. We was protected. God protected us. He covered us. His angels surrounded us. Listen, and it wasn't even a feel that anything was going to even touch us. We wasn't scared of nothing. We was at peace. This was the only time ever in my life that I felt peace, and I ain't had no money. We ain't had no car. I ain't had no job. Not no car, but no house. We ain't had no house. We was living in the car with no money. And we made it across the world with no money. With no money. Yeah, I had a car, but we needed gas. It was times that we were stuck, at the gas station without no gas. But I'm gonna talk about that too. But God has showed me who he was.